All right, welcome back to the channel. So Jaron Ennis may be in the position to force title shots against both Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. based on this next upcoming fight that he has with Sergiy Lipinets. Wow, man, I'm telling you, this young kid is going to be trouble on people. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So if you're familiar with this channel, you know that there are some fighters that I like because I ain't shy about talking about them, even if those fighters don't like me talking about them. One of these guys is Jaron Boots Ennis, who I think is going to be one of the greatest fighters in all of boxing. Super talented, super skilled, from the city of Philadelphia, a big kid at 147 pounds, and a guy that I just think is, after this current crop of 147 pounders, going to be just, like I said, the cream of the crop, top dude at 147 pounds. I can't, unless there's for some reason he can't make the weight and he has to move up, I don't see any of these young guys or anybody other than the very, very elite 147 pounders beating this guy. And with some news that was announced that I just got wind of today, which was from Mike Coppinger. Now, also, if you guys are fans of the channel and come by, please excuse me. Took a couple days off, had to go do some stuff. I'm back 100% ready to go. But Jaron Ennis is just a special, special kid. Now, when it came out, and Mike Coppinger, shout out to Mike Coppinger who put this out, that Jaron Ennis is to be fighting in May against Sergiy Lipinets. That is a big fight for several reasons. First of all, it's going to be Jaron Ennis' arrival fight. I think Sergiy Lipinets is a former IBF 140-pound champion, and I do believe right now he's number 3 in the IBF, and he is number 10 in the WBO. He is a legitimate, I think he at 147, he's more of a gatekeeper, but a top guy. I think what you'll see in this fight between Jaron Ennis and Sergiy Lipinets is complete domination. I think he's just going to roll over him. I think he's going to roll over him worse than he was rolling over than he was going to roll over Chris Van Heerden if Chris Van Heerden hadn't been lucky enough to have a cut in the fight. I just don't see that there's anything that Sergiy Lipinets can do with Jaron Ennis. Jaron is just going to walk this guy down and beat him up and get him out of there. I don't see it going, Sergiy Lipinets and him going anything past 5 rounds. I hope, though, that he goes just a little bit slower into the fight, warm up, because this is a vet. This is a vet. He's been in there with Mikey Garcia. He's been in there with other top. He's been in there with other top fighters. Sergiy Lipinets is, even though he doesn't have that many fights, he's a seasoned vet. But this will be Jaron Ennis' arrival at 147 pounds, because I don't think there's anything that can save Sergiy Lipinets other than some just major freak accident that just flies out of the sky that you could never have predicted. Something wild like that. Short of something like that, Jaron Ennis is going to get this fight, man. And, and Lipinets is just, he's very, very tough. He's strong. He's got, he's a good fighter being a former kickboxer, but he's just so overmatched, man, that I just can't see him getting anything but, just walloped, and walloped in devastating fashion. So what is the significance of that? And why do I say that puts Jaron Ennis in a position to force fights with both Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford? And that is that Lipinets' rankings he's highly ranked in the IBF and he's highly ranked in the WBO. So I do believe Lipinets is number 3 in the IBF, right? Which would mean that only Abukharov and one other guy is ahead of him. Now, I don't know if the IBF, when Lipinets loses to Jaron Ennis, who I think may be around number 10 in that, I don't know if that means he's going to go to number 2 or whether he's going to go to number 1. I don't think it's going to go straight to, I don't think he's going to go to number 3. So he's going to either be number 2 or number 1 underneath Abukharov. And that, my friend, could put you right in the position to be the mandatory for for Errol Spence Jr. And in the scenario where there's a mandatory, shoot, the money works for Jaron because it's a 75-25 purse bid split, right? So it's at the amount of money that he's earning now, getting a mandatory shot against Errol Spence Jr. works very, very well for him, right? Now, I don't know if he's going to do it and really move that fast, but, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. If he's ranked there in that division, he actually could ask the IBF to, hey, man, I want to be the mandatory. What needs to happen to make that pop off? And the IBF could take that seriously, and they could order that fight. And that, is something that Errol Spence Jr. would do, because unless Errol wanted to drop the belt. Now, how far off that is that? Obviously, I think, you're talking about May for the Lipinets fight. So it may be, 2023, early 2023. Sorry about that. You're not going to edit that out. Just didn't realize it was still up there. But yeah, man, it's just really, really good stuff, man. Like, it puts Jaron in, it puts him, and then on the other side, I do believe that Lipinets is number 9 for the WBO, right? So Lipinets is number 9 for the WBO. That would get him into the top 10 of the WBO. And 1 or 2 more fights, boom, he's right in the position to be a mandatory for the WBO. I really see this kid really doing, man, some terrific things, man. He's just, I think he's going to be able to beat anybody other than these top guys. Now, I don't think that, honestly, that we're going to see the Jaron Ennis, Errol Spence Jr. fight or the Terence Crawford fight. I just think that he's going to get in the position to where, people are going to have to honestly start talking about those fights being made. Obviously the hold up to those things is that there's so many fights already set within the 147 pound division. That, in that 147 pound division that are really big fights, that it's going to be tough for maybe the next year and a half for Jaron really to stand out as somebody that a lot of people are demanding to see the fight. So, like, for me, I know where Jaron, at least I'm not going to say I know. I believe that I know where Jaron is going to wind up and what type of fighters he's going to be. So I'm already amped up and hyped up about him and talking about him. But until he gets that, a few fights where he just looks absolutely awesome against a top fighter, I don't think that you're going to really get the demand, from the just everyday fan, for those fights. But as things pan out, and people move out and clear out of that division, Jaron, I think, is just really going to be the guy. And he sits so pretty for when, guys like Jose Ramirez move up, guys like who's up there? Josh Taylor's there. Eventually, Regis Prograis is going to have to move up there. I just think there's a lot there at 147 for him, provided that he can make that weight. Now, if you've looked at several of the guys that he's been fighting, these guys he's been fighting have been really big. Like, they look like they're 160 pounders. And so, there's a good chance that, Jaron being, what is he, like 5'10", 5'11" almost, might cruise up to 154 and 160 and really let, 154 and 160 be where he really takes off. But I think this kid is really the best, or one of the best in that crop, along with guys like, obviously, Jared Anderson, Shakur Stevenson, who's some other really good guys, man. Chris Colbert, obviously Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Ryan Garcia is getting there, but there's just this really good crop of young fighters that are coming up in boxing. And hopefully what we'll see, and I think that we're starting to see it, is these guys mixing it up more at an earlier stage in their career, not being afraid or concerned with taking losses and things like that. Man, we could really, really have some really great fights out of these guys over the next couple years. But anyway, I think it's a great step for this Jaron Ennis versus Sergiy Lipinets fight. I certainly hope that it pops off and that he does become the mandatory for Errol Spence Jr. I think, hey, man, that's more great fighters, the better, man. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, we don't need any more great fighters at 147 because we already know the Terence Crawford fight is it. Hey, man, these guys may not be the best at 147, man. The best guy at 147 may be Boots. It could be. We just got to see, and hopefully we'll get a chance to. But anyway, that's my take. You let me know what you think, and with that, I'm out. Peace.